My name is Carrie Lippincott, and I'm the Executive Director of the Geneva Historical Society. Many of you are probably by now very familiar with Zoom, but let me just give a brief overview. If you haven't already, I'm going to ask that you put yourselves on mute, and you can find the mute button by going to the bottom left-hand corner of your screen and hitting the little microphone. And also, if you have any questions for Karen, there's two ways that you can do that. The first way is there is a chat box. And again, that is on the bottom of your screen. It's in the middle. You can type in questions or comments in that box. And throughout the program, I'll be monitoring that. But also at the end of the program, Karen's going to open it up to questions. So we'll be monitoring that as well. So very simple format today. Karen's going to do a presentation, and then, as I said, we're going to open it up to questions and answers. So I'll turn everything over to Karen.
Hi, everybody. I see a lot of people I know. Matter of fact, I don't think I see anybody I don't know hardly. Thank you all for coming. Today, we're going to talk about how to preserve that artifact that you finally got, that you've been wanting, or that you didn't want and somebody entrusted in your care to start with. And how to save history for the next generation. So if anybody can't see the screen, let me know, raise your hand or something, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, so you just purchased, you just inherited this important historical artifact, and you want to know how to take care of it for posterity. So what do? So the first suggestion that I have is that you wash your hands thoroughly, because oils from your skin are going to leave marks on any item that you've got. And that goes from, from wood, metal especially. God forbid it's plastic. I don't have any idea how long that's going to hold up, and I don't think anybody does at this point in time. And handle the item as little as possible, especially if it's paper, photographs, documents, things of that kind. My second suggestion is that you're going to hopefully take a photograph of the artifact for your records. You can make, if it's a newspaper, or if it's a clipping, if it's a photograph, you could actually make a copy of it. You can make a physical copy of it, just so that you have a copy in case anything happens to the original, or so that you can handle the copy instead of the original when you want to go for information. My next suggestion is that you examine your artifact, whatever it is, if it's three-dimensional, or if it's a flat two-dimensional artifact, that you examine it very carefully, write down any damage, maker's marks, names, or other identifying characteristics of the object. And just in case people are taking notes, just so you know, I do have this in PDF form, and I can send you the PDF after we're finished. So you don't necessarily have to take notes on what I'm saying right now, unless you want to. And so now at this point, you've written down everything you can about your artifact. At this point in time, it's probably time to get some professional advice on how to care for this piece of history that you now have. And there's a lot of ways to do that. There are a lot of avenues, and a good place to start is places like the Geneva Historical Society. People like Becky Chapin, people like John Marks are, well-trained, well aware of how to take care of, two-dimensional objects, three-dimensional objects. They can give you a lot of advice. They, museum and their staff will not appraise your artifact for you. It's a conflict of interest, and it's unethical. So don't even consider asking, because they may be able to tell you where to go to get it appraised, but they will not give you, anything of that nature. So, if you speak to the curator, speak to the archivist, any large museum, a really large museum nowadays, like the American Museum of Natural History or the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, the Eastman House, they usually have their own conservator on staff. A lot of the Rochester museums used to all have conservators. I don't know how many do anymore. Genesee Country Museum may have one. The Eastman House may have one. I don't believe the Rochester Museum has one anymore. Basically, it's something they can't afford to have, and they can send things out to be conserved. So depending on their collection, depending on their focus, they may no longer have a conservator on staff, which is a shame, but that's the way it is. But you can get advice on the best person in your area to look at your artifact. We're fortunate enough in this area to have a couple of different places that are conservators that are quite well known. There's some conservators in New York State that are very well respected and can give you, an estimate, can look at your object, give you an estimate. And for any of you who watch like Antiques Roadshow, some of the things that are really very valuable, it's worth getting conserved. If it's not for your emotional attachment to it, if it's something in your family that you may want to sell at some point in time, it's could be worth it for that purpose too. Okay, so now if you've spoken to your local museum experts, they've recommended a conservator, they recommend you contact somebody that specializes in any type, particular type of preservation. Your next step is going to be to find where these organizations are. And this is the thing that I found that was really very interesting. You can go to your favorite browser and enter document conservation. I did Google because I got a lot better results from Google than I got with Bing. And you should get many choices when you do this. One of the big ones is the Northeast Document Conservation Center. It was founded in 1973, and at that time it was the first independent conservation center in the nation to specialize in paper conservation. They're in Andover, Massachusetts, and I've given you their name, their computer, whatever, you know what I mean. It's totally escaping me right now. But their email address, yeah, there you go, or their website address, thank you. But it's that's a good place to go. They have preservation leaflets on many topics that you can download for free. So if you can't find answers to your questions on their website, you can also contact their staff and they'll be happy to talk to you. At least that's what it says on their website. Other conservation organizations are the Conservation Center for Art and Historic Artifacts. Was founded in 1977 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And you can see their website address up there, ccaaha.org. The American Institute for Conservation, which was founded in 1972 and it's headquartered in Washington, D.C. They can help you find a conservator who can help you with your document or your artifact. The National Archives is really very good. They've got a lot of information on there, and it's another place that you can contact if you want. One of the places I forgot to put down because I forgot all about it and it didn't turn up on the search is the Image Permanence Institute at RIT. You might want to write that one down because that is not on this presentation anyplace. But it's www, and then it's all one word, it's all lowercase, imagepermanenceinstitute.org. And it's at RIT. And they have people who you can consult with. What they charge, I don't know. But again, that's another place you can go. Conservation information sources. Again, the National Park Service has conservograms, which you can download. Again, it's many topics to choose from. I didn't understand that. I'd never heard of those myself, but that's a good source to take a look at. Conservators. Okay. We have Westlake conservators who are in Skinny Atlas. They are very professional. I know that we used them several times at the Geneva Historical Society. They do marvelous work, and they're worth consulting on things. Definitely, they're not inexpensive, but I don't think any conservator is going to be inexpensive. If they are, I would think twice about using them. Spicer Art Conservation. I know Gwen Spicer. I worked with her years ago. She interned at the Rochester Museum and Science Center. She was it was one of her internships, and she tends to specialize in textiles. She's very good, and she's over around the Albany area. And then archival supplies. And this is, if you have something simple and you just like, you've got a photograph, it's not damaged, you want to keep it for other years for whatever purpose, you might want to check Bags Unlimited for a start, okay? If you pull up their catalog and search archival, and I found 53 pages of archival storage items. They've got videos on their materials to watch on their site. It's been my first choice in past years because they are less inexpensive, or they are less expensive than other companies. And other companies buy some of their materials and resell them or reuse them. And I saw some actually in a tour that I took of another conservation supply site. I saw some of the Bags Unlimited items there. So, just check it. They've got things that are PAT approved. It's a good place to start. They don't have everything, and they don't do custom things as far as I know. But they are in Rochester, and they're local, so you're keeping your money local, and you can also talk with them locally and go down and get it yourself if you want. Another place is the textile. Whoops. That went a little too fast. What did I do here? Oh, here we go. Archival Methods, which is on Driving Park Avenue in Rochester. Again, it's one of those things that it's close. You can consult with them. And they've got the website down there. Light Impressions. This is interesting. The Light Impressions used to be the place to go in for archival supplies. They sold to a bigger concern, moved out to California, didn't like how things were going for, they didn't feel that the big concern was taking care of things the way they would like to see it done. So apparently, I don't know if they bought the name back or whatever, but they have set up again in Rochester. And their information is there. I may be mistaken on this, but I have a feeling that some of their original people may have been involved in setting up Bags Unlimited. I wouldn't quote me on that. I didn't investigate that, but I think I heard that years ago. But that's neither here nor there. Gaylord is in Syracuse. I've been through some tours of their facility. They will make custom things for you. That's one of the nice things about them. They're a little bit more expensive, but they certainly have a good product. And again, it's close. It's relatively local. Hollinger Metal Edge, for most of you who've seen like the gray boxes, if you hang on just a second, I'm just going to reach for something here. Whoops. Okay, this is a little example of a Hollinger box. They're called, no matter whoever you talk to, they're either going to call them Hollinger boxes, or sometimes they'll call it metal edge. Metal edge because of the metal on the edges to keep the thing from blowing apart when you stuff too much stuff in it. It blows apart anyway, so don't feel like you necessarily have to pay for metal edge. But they are quite good, and this is about the size of a calling card, business card, and they give them out free at different things I've been to, so that's why I have that example here to show you. Again, they're a little more expensive, but they do have things that you're not going to be able to get at Bags Unlimited. Certain polyester rolls or sheets that you might want to sandwich a document in to protect it. You maybe want to go to Gaylord or to Hollinger for something like that. Then there are workshops and clinics, and I'm not entirely sure where South Salem is, although from the zip code, I'd say it's down around the New York City area. But there's a textile conservation workshop that is put on once a year. And that is in, I think it's once a year. You can contact them and find out about that if you've got a textile that you want to see, like a quilt or a sampler or something that has been done, crochet work or tatting or something of that nature. And then SUNY Buffalo, and I found this interesting because I didn't realize this. They have an art conservation specialty at SUNY Buffalo, and they hold a conservation clinic every September, and you can get an invitation by calling or emailing for one. I believe it's free, and you can just click, if you go to www.artconservation.buffalostate.edu and click on their services tab, you'll be able to see that. And I thought that was kind of interesting because that's something that you can go to on your own, and take your thing perhaps or consult with them. And that's a handy thing to have. So with that, I believe that is the end of my slides. So if anyone would like to, let's see if I can. Oh, nope, that's not going to do what I want it to. I'm going to stop sharing the screen right now, and let's see if we can get everybody out here. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? And feel free to unmute and ask whatever.
Karen, I have a question.
Yeah.
And this, I don't know if you know this or if you know, I mean, I could probably Google it, but I've heard conflicting evidence on whether I should polish silver or let it tarnish. Do you have any idea?
We have polished silver. I've polished it with John Marks before for various reasons and events. I don't believe you should use your commercial silver polish on anything that's old or valuable. If you've got something that you don't care about, that's sterling silver or something you want to, that's fine. We used distilled water and a lot of elbow grease and some, cotton balls or cotton swabs. And John also used, it was sort of like baking soda, but it's a bicarbonate of some sort. I'll have to ask John, that you can actually use to rub on the thing. And it does the work. You just have to put in a lot of extra elbow grease.
Okay.
If it's sterling, you're certainly not going to rub off anything. If it's plate, sterling, silver plate can be very thin. So you really want to be careful how you handle that. But I don't think, what's the point? If it's an old piece, I guess I would leave it. If it was an antique, I would leave it. But if it were, and I would maybe consult a conservator about it. Otherwise, I would tackle it with, distilled water and a cotton,
Okay. And stay away from the stuff in the grocery store.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Is it a big piece?
I have just assorted family silver that has trickled down to me over the years, and some, yeah, So I've got a variety, mostly small pieces,
Mhm.
but I keep them kind of out of the air because I don't want them to tarnish, but I like them. So
Mhm.
I'm at a phase in life where if I have something, I would like to have it out and use it, not just have it squirreled away in a box for nothing to happen to. Though some of these pieces probably fall into that no squirrel it away category.
Mhm.
So I'm just kind of curious for a couple of these things.
The one thing I found with sterling silver jewelry is the more I wear it, the less it tarnishes.
Okay.
If I don't wear it, and I
These
set,
are all more dining objects,
yeah,
cups, a cigarette box, stuff like that.
you can get anti-tarnish cloth
Mhm.
to wrap them in. So I would say once you got them cleaned up, um, I would get some of the anti-tarnish cloth for the stuff that you don't want to set out and use. If you're talking about um, flatware,
Mhm.
use it.
Okay.
That way, you're keeping it clean. I wouldn't put it through the dishwasher or anything like
Oh
that.
God, no.
Yeah.
My
But
family members do, but I'll deal with that once it makes
yeah.
their way down to me.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything?
Thanks, Karen.
Oh, you're welcome, Sarah. I didn't mean to cut you off if you had more to say. Okay. Anybody else? Otherwise, we're going to be ending this pretty early.
Karen, how about just something you've just gotten something, or someone has just given it to you, or you purchased something from an antique shop, just some basic things you can do at home. Before you go, just some step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yeah.
Just walk us through that process.
Okay. I would definitely say, okay, so you go to the antique store and you purchase, say a table, a small table, and you decide to carry it home, a little wooden table, and you decide to carry it home. So one of the first things I would do, and even if you have antiques, I would go and I would buy myself some cotton gloves, white cotton gloves to handle. Um, I really prefer the wash your hands really well for paper, but for photographs, for metal objects, for anything you're going to worry about leaving your oil from your hands on, I'd say get yourself some cotton gloves. Okay, you bring your item home. You've probably already checked it over to make sure that you know how much damage it has, whatever work you're going to have to do on it. Um, if it's an antique that you feel is going to be worth more, if you think you got like the real deal and you really want to save it, I would say first off, don't repair it. Don't take off the old finish. A great example is years and years and years ago, my father brought home this dining room table. I mean, it was Sarah's seen it, I think. It was in my other place. It was huge. It was a solid piece of wood, and the finish on it was this dark, crazed brown, almost black. And it was a pedestal table with lion paws and the whole 9 yards. And my dad was a woodworker, so he stripped the thing and he did a beautiful job of refinishing it. It was wonderful, but it certainly knocked down the value of the piece. They prefer, I guess, that you don't do that. But if you're going to use it, if you're buying it just for your own self to use, you're not buying it as an investment, feel free to do what you want to do with it, because if you buy it to use, I can't afford to buy stuff just to have it sitting around. I'm personally, I like antiques, but I don't necessarily keep them in my own house much because um, it's too hard to live with them. You have to make sure that people don't sit on it. You've got to make sure people don't put their hands on it. I can't live like that. I don't have that kind of house. I don't have that kind of lifestyle. I have people come over. I want my visitors to be comfortable. So I don't have antiques like that. But if you do, that's one of the things. I would say educate yourself before, if you're looking for a specific piece, educate yourself before you go out to buy it, obviously. If you just happen to see something on a whim, Okay, bring it home. If it's wood, get on the computer right away before you do anything to it. You can dust it. You could, don't wash it. Don't put oil on it. Don't do any of that stuff until you've had a chance to do some research online and see what is the very best way to take care of it. If you have someone coming over to clean your house, make sure that they don't touch it. You know, they have the best of intentions. Oh, look at that, it's dirty, I'll take care of it. No, no, no. I have just a good example is somebody, I had a little soapstone etching, and somebody went over it with a rag that had wax on it. And so now you can't, the etching is still there, but you can't see it. So if I want the etching to be seen, either I have to go through and tediously scrape out all the wax from the etching marks, which I can do, but I'm sure there's a better way, and I'm going to look it up online and see. But you want to know this first before you do anything to it, because you can ruin a piece, especially if you don't know what type of wood it is, if you don't know if it's veneer, if you know, and a lot of times you can't tell when you first look at something. Sometimes things have been repaired, they've been altered, you don't know. And so when you start working on something, you have a good chance of really doing further damage rather than doing good to it if you don't do your research first. With metal, things like silver, okay? If you handle it with your hands, you're going to leave fingerprints on it. And where those fingerprints are, if you leave it out in the air, you're going to see them after a while. That'll be the tarnish marks. You're going to see those. You'll be able to see your fingerprints right on the thing. You know, it doesn't take that much to, if you're just setting something out, you're going to dust it once in a while. You know, use gloves. You know, invest in a good pair of cotton gloves. There's a lot of free ones that I've gotten over the years, which are great for a lot of different reasons, but if they don't fit you, it's really hard to work with them. And you're liable to drop something, you're liable to tear something, you're liable to, you know, so get yourself some good gloves. If you've gone to a place and, you know, you've seen something, say you've seen a scrapbook that for whatever reason catches your fancy. Maybe it's got a lot of postcards in it, and you want the postcards. And so you bring it home. Okay, now you've got say glue, adhesive of some sort on the back of these. You know, what are you going to do about it? You'd have to be very, very careful. You can buy yourself a little tiny spatula and kind of go over under the edge, see how much things have dried out. If you think you can pop it off there, gently, you know, try it a little bit. Or if there's a duplicate one on there, you can try it a little bit. But there is going to be advice on how to get those things off. And so you would want to check with someone who really knows before you try to get those off. Adhesive can ruin photographs. It can ruin different things. I strongly advise you not to use adhesive on things. If you want to do a scrapbook of originals, I suggest you make copies of the originals and put the copies in the scrapbook. Save the originals, save photographs. You want to save them in polyester sleeves. You want to keep them in cool, dark places. You don't want them to fade, things of that nature. So you want to be taking the best care you can of something to keep it for as long as you possibly can. And there is no guarantee that something's going to last forever. Most things aren't like King Tut. You know, they're not, you know, you're not going to keep his jackal deathbed. I mean, that's several thousand years old. Most of the stuff that you've got is not going to last that long, because in modern times, things have changed. We've changed the way we made them. Newspapers. People offer me historic newspapers all the time. Oh, I've got this wonderful headline from when Kennedy died. Yeah, that's great. Make a photocopy of it and save it for your grandchildren, because the newspaper isn't going to hold up. If you have newspapers that are made prior to the Civil War, matter of fact, the older the paper, the more it holds up, because it's made with long fibers, rags, cloth, things like that. When I worked at the Rochester Museum and Science Center Library, we had a book from 1750s there, and it was London Magazine, and it had been bound, and it was in beautiful condition. Uh, if you get a bunch of newspapers that have been bound from the 1960s, they're going to be brown, they're going to be brittle, and you're not going to be able to save them very well. You know, it doesn't mean you can't, but you're not going to be able to save them very well. So if you want to make copies of them on acid-free paper, and that's another thing to take a look at. You want to consider doing things as you yourself produce things that you're going to want to give to people down the line. You're going to want to consider using acid-free paper. You consider buying a pen that will tell you what the pH is of the acid of the paper that you're using. You can buy those. They're not terribly expensive. You can swipe it across the paper. It will turn color if it's acidic. Most paper nowadays is not acidic. It's even copy paper. A lot of them doesn't even say that on the box anymore, but you want to try it and find out before you go and use it to copy something that you feel is important. So, do your homework. Make sure you get the right stuff. If you're creating a piece of art, create it with keeping it forever in mind, or your people, your family, keeping it forever. Jewelry, things like silver, metal, glass, unless you drop it or you hammer it or you do something like that, that's going to keep much more readily than something like wood or paper. And again, plastic is, um, we haven't had it around long enough to really know how well it's going to hold up over the course of a couple hundred years. I mean, I think the earliest plastic stuff was sort of like Bakelite and things. Um, it becomes brittle. It changes color. I mean, anybody who's got Rubbermaid and stuff, it changes color. If you use it, there's no guarantees. Um, uh, it's just one of those things that you need to be aware of when you're creating something. And the other thing is that you want to know too is that as you're saving stuff, you may think, well, nobody's going to want this because it's too new. That's not true. For those of us, and as I look around here at the names who are on here, a lot of the people here were born, are, they the 60s, the 70s, we're baby boomers. And you're looking now at let's see, for World War II, you're talking about close to 80 years ago. But yet for some of us, it doesn't seem old because our fathers talked about it. It was very well, something we knew, we understood, we felt a contact with. The people who were born in the 70s and the 80s and 90s, that's not the way it is. So for them, it's history. For us, it's like right around the corner. Save things that are important with the idea that, in 10 years, people are going to be wanting that because they don't have it anymore. It's history. Yesterday is history. So save your things of that nature. Any other questions? Nothing? Oh, well. And I don't know, basically, let's see.
I
Oh,
have
and
a question.
yes.
Okay. We were gifted with a charter for a post office
Oh,
that is still in, it's a very small post office,
mhm.
but the charter, it's under a glass in a frame but
Mhm.
it had gotten wet somehow, and there's mold in the corner. Should I
Ooh.
just leave everything alone until I get a conservator, or should I remove it from the frame under the glass? Do you have an idea or any input?
Yeah, if it's got mold on it, I would remove it from the frame if you can do that without damaging the object.
Okay,
If it's not going to stick to the glass or something, I would take the object out. I would, if the charter, how big is the charter? Is it huge?
it's approximately 15 by 20.
Okay. I would get it out of that, and if you have a way to freeze it on a
Okay,
flat surface,
okay,
I would maybe go to say an art store, or order a piece online of an acid, or go to one of the stores that I just recommended, the sources for archival material, and I would get either an archival folder or something that's sturdy enough to keep it flat, and I would put it in the freezer, and I would freeze it for at least a couple of weeks, because the mold will go dormant if you do that.
okay, okay,
And that has been my experience, because we've gotten books that, you get them and they reek, they smell like mildew and stuff. I can always tell if it's active because I'm allergic to mold, and I'll start to sneeze if it's active. If it's not active, I won't sneeze. So if I freeze it for a couple of weeks, which is also recommended, this isn't just my making this up off the top of my head, but if I freeze it for a couple of weeks and I take it back out, it may still smell, but I'm not gonna, I won't be sneezing, which tells me
okay,
that it's gone dormant. Mold, you have to be very careful with. It's hard um, to eliminate, and so you really need to get um, professional advice on that if you want to get it off the artifact.
okay,
Okay,
great. Thank you.
you're welcome. And I know I was talking about cleaning things. Oh, the Rochester Library has from 1712. Oh, Larry, you want to just can you unmute yourself? Yeah, ask me or tell me.
Yeah, it's a very thick book, about 4 or 5 inches thick, and the heraldic crests in it are hand painted, hand drawn.
Oh, wow.
I always wanted to get it digitized because I think it's out of copyright from 1712.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, unfortunately, that wasn't able to do, but it's a really remarkable piece of work there.
Wow.
It's 300 and some years old, and it still looks like absolutely new.
Yeah, and that's the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you looking to get it digitized, or you just going to hold on to it?
Not anymore. I don't work there no more.
That's right, you don't. Yeah. Yeah. It's like me.
Yep, been
You
there,
hear me
done
still
that.
saying things like that's like
Well,
once you work there, you always work there.
yeah, the people who took over know about it, and that's their call. So
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Mhm.
But yeah. Yeah, things like that are incredible in how well they will hold up. It's just the paper and um the work. The thing that amazes me is the paint. Whatever they used for coloring, it's like it amazes me that holds up so well. I just, because they certainly didn't have the pigments and things that we have now. But yeah, it's amazing. That I think that impresses me almost more than anything else. And oh, let's see. Um, no, okay. I just looked to see if there were any other chat things there.
I have another question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Okay.
can. Mhm. Please.
Okay, I have a family Bible
Mhm.
from 1498,
Ooh, wow.
and it was a leather bound. It is a leather bound artifact, and
Okay.
it's printed in Swedish, and it's old script plus it had been repaired once when the cover had come off, and I had taken it to a Swedish language professor to see if I could get some of the information off the inside where all the generations had been copied and put. And the gentleman, when he was looking at it, inadvertently ripped off the cover.
Oh, ouch.
So do you have any information about working with leather-bound books?
Whoa. I don't have any information off the top of my head. I would definitely suggest that you contact somebody like Westlake Conservators
Okay,
for that. And I would, because that sounds like it's something that would be worth conserving, definitely.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, Sarah.
I feel like I should have more advice for you on this, but the other person you might want to ask, they don't do this kind of work, but Bethany Haswell at Stomping Grounds is very well versed in older books and has a background in that. She may know of other avenues to pursue, particularly locally, that you might find useful.
What is that name again, please?
At Stomping Grounds here in Geneva. I don't know who you are or where you are.
I'm from Fayette, New York, south of Seneca Falls.
It's on Seneca Street.
Yeah, there's a shop here in Geneva called Stomping Grounds, and her name is Bethany Haswell.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Sarah, because I'd forgotten about Stomping Grounds. Yes, they are a great place for framing and things like that. You can get archival framing done if you have a print or a photograph or something that you want to have hanging up, but you really don't want it to fade or things like that. You can get archival framing done with UV protective glass and other things too. And again, that's one of those places. A woman named Ann Punzi used to do it in Rochester. I don't know if she still does or not. It's Punzi, but that's definitely something to consider. Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah.
Last I knew Stomping Grounds, they are on appointment only basis.
Okay.
I don't think that you are able to just walk in with something. So you'd want to go online and contact her and see if an appointment is still required.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Thank you. I did not know that. Yeah. I have not been shopping lately. So, but yeah, anybody else? Well, I don't have much else to add to this. It's we've all got older things. When I was talking about plastic, in a way, I guess I'm more of an expert at it than I think, because one of the things I have, and everybody who knows me knows about my horse collection, and they are all, I see, I see people laughing. Yes. I see, they are made out of a form of plastic. I cannot tell you what type. They've changed the formula over the years, but the one thing I notice is that in many cases, they change color over the years. And there are supposedly a few ways to change that, change the color back by doing certain things. I've never tried because it's not that important to me. They're my personal enjoyment. They're not anything I'm looking at as an investment in the future, for my relatives or anything. But that's what I mean by plastic. It's like if somebody's trying to tell you that something is collectible and it's plastic, I'd think twice about it. a matter of fact, I think twice about anything that somebody is telling you is a collectible. The things that are collectible are the things that there are only one or two of, not the things that are, you know, that you can buy commercially, like baskets or things of that nature. You know, it's you know, just a comment on that, I guess. But and baskets, now that I think about it, that's another thing. I don't know if any of you have done any work with baskets, but if the air is too dry, they end up becoming very brittle and breaking. So you know, that's the sort of thing too that you know, depending on what they're made out of, that you want to. Humidity, and I didn't cover that. Humidity and temperature are two of the things you really want to be careful of if you're having something that you are, you know, an artifact that you're taking care of. Things like paper, photographs, prefer a specific type of humidity. I'm thinking that it's around 50% and cool. You want to keep it cool, maybe 60 degrees or something of that nature. But you don't want things to be stored in the attic. You don't want things to be stored in the basement. Under your bed's not such a bad place, you know, unless you have a cat that decides that under the bed is a good place to do whatever. I have no cats who can get under my bed right now, but that's the bed, not the cats. For those of you who also know my cat collection. But that's another thing you need to take a look at, is the environment in which you're storing things. I strongly recommend that you do not store anything where you're going to have a leak, a chance of a leak, a chance of dampness, a chance of fluctuating temperatures, too hot, too cold. Your attic goes up and down and up and down. So that's another thing to take a look at, and see whether or not, you know, you can control to the best of your ability. You know, it's like when I say under your bed isn't such a bad place, it really isn't, because you're controlling your environment there, so you're comfortable. So chances are it's a pretty steady environment, and it's probably not that bad a place for your objects to be. So, and
Well, thank you, Karen, very much. I think I learned a little bit this afternoon. Yes, you're getting a round of applause. Anyone can always call the Geneva Historical Society, 315-789-5151, and we'd be happy to help you with any questions you may have concerning your own collections or any items you may have. Karen does have the presentation is available, and you can send an email to her at kdosburn2@gmail.com, or you can contact the Geneva Historical Society and we'll pass those slides along. Okay. Again, thank you, Karen, and thanks all of you for joining us this afternoon for our November edition of History Sandwiched In. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
thank you for being here. Bye-bye.